Discover 10 incredible secrets about human design flaws that will transform your life forever. Sarah's heart raced as she scanned the flyer taped to the window of the small diner where she worked. After another long shift of serving grumpy patrons, the words seemed to leap out, wrapping her in a warm embrace of hope. Maybe this was it. Maybe these secrets could help her and Jamie escape the weight of their lives in this town. She tucked the flyer into her apron, feeling a spark of excitement mingle with the exhaustion that usually weighed her down. At 35, Sarah had become a master of juggling. Juggling dishes, orders, and the intricate demands of being Jamie's sole parent. But it was becoming harder. The judgment she faced from wealthy patrons, especially Judge Thompson, cut right through her. He looked at her as if her life choices screamed failure. She often heard echoes of his sneered choosing to be a waitress as she served him his coffee. It made her chest tighten. What did he know about sacrifice? Jamie, her bright-eyed 15-year-old, radiated potential that made her heart swell with pride. Yet, the world felt colder for him. As he walked those high school halls, he was noticed only when he became a target. The wealthy kids, flush with designer clothes and smug smiles, made him feel invisible. Sarah often found him lost in thought, his shoulders hunched like he carried the weight of the world. She ached to shield him but was powerless, feeling the same cruelty of this small town weighing them both down. That afternoon, as they sat across the kitchen table with cold pizza between them, she shared the flyer. "We should go, Jamie," she urged, her eyes shining. He met her enthusiasm with a reluctant nod. "Maybe it's something good?" She pressed, hoping to awaken the glimmer in him that she had once seen. The thought of unveiling secrets that could change their lives was intoxicating, a dream that felt within reach. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The seminar packed the community hall like sardines, the air thick with apprehension and whispered hope. They faced neighbors and acquaintances, knitting together their lives with unspoken judgments. Sarah's heart beat loudly as she listened. The warmth of inspiration washed over her in waves. But beside her, Jamie looked more isolated than ever. The words that echoed through the room seemed to crystallize the very insecurities he'd faced for years. The 10 secrets morphed into an overwhelming list of reminders that he'd never measure up. At the town hall meeting later that week, emotions boiled when Sarah could no longer hold back. She confronted Judge Thompson, her voice shaking but fierce. "You talk about hard work, what do you know about sacrifice?" Every eye in the room turned toward them, breaths caught in surprise. The heated exchange ignited a ripple of chatter that swirled around Jamie. For the first time, he felt the fierce loyalty radiating from her, a lioness protecting her cub. Yet, as cheers filled the room, Jamie slipped into the shadows of doubt. His heart stung with the burden of his mother's aspirations. Words fell from his lips, harsh and hurtful. "During a fight, you don't even know what I want." The rift tore between them, as silence swallowed the air, leaving Sarah clutching her heart, torn between worrying for him and fighting for a dream. As they stood on that precipice, the heartache loomed large and doubts rose before them, thicker than smoke. Their dreams felt both tangible and impossibly out of reach, swirling in an uncertain future neither of them knew how to navigate. The next morning, the sunlight broke through the curtains, spilling warm light across the kitchen table where remnants of last night's cold pizza rested like a forgotten dream. Sarah slumped over her coffee, the bitterness reflecting the lingering tension between her and Jamie. She glanced at the empty chair across from her, wishing desperately for his smile to light up the room again. But today was different. The hurtful words from the night before hung heavy in the air between them, like a thick fog refusing to lift. "Jamie?" She called softly, her voice barely above a whisper. Silence answered her back. Her heart sank. She was used to his absence, but this felt deeper. It felt like losing him, piece by piece. The resentment, the fears was that what she had ignited in her son. She looked around the room, willing herself to find focus. The flyer was still crumpled in her apron, the promise of hope and transformation mirroring her own desire for escape. Maybe we should give it another shot, she murmured, though it felt increasingly unlikely. As she rinsed her mug in the sink, the door creaked open. Her heart leapt at the sight of Jamie, his face drawn and shadowed. He shuffled in, head down, and avoided her eyes. "Hey, Mom," he muttered, moving to grab a cereal box, but the words felt hollow, like they were stuck in his throat. "Can we talk?" she ventured, holding her breath. When he nodded, she felt the air shift, fragile and charged. They settled at the table, the space between them rife with unspoken words. "About last night," Sarah began, her voice steady. "I didn't mean to put pressure on you. I want the best for us, you know. I thought that maybe, those secrets could what?" He interrupted, his voice rising. "Make us normal, just like them?" The bitterness cracked through his facade, anger lacing his words. "I don't want to be like them, Mom. I want to be me." Sarah's chest tightened again as guilt washed over her. "I know, sweetheart. But what if there is something out there that can help us?" Jamie's expression shifted, wrestling with vulnerability. "What if it doesn't? What if it makes things worse?" With each syllable, she felt his pain, an avalanche of unfiltered fear that threatened to swallow them whole. This wasn't just about a seminar anymore, it was about their existence, their identity. "I'm scared too, Jamie," she finally admitted, her voice shaking. "But I have to believe that there's more for us." "I need you to believe that too." Locking eyes, they shared a silent moment, both yearning for trust. Then Jamie sighed, the tension in his shoulders easing just a bit. "I just want to find a way to feel safe," he confessed, the bravado fading, revealing the wounded boy beneath. A flicker of understanding sparked between them, breaking the barriers that had formed. Sarah wanted so fiercely to reach out and embrace him, wrapping him in warmth and love. "We'll find it together," she promised. "I promise I won't push you anymore. But maybe we could go, just to see what it's about. You can decide if it feels right for you." Jamie's brow furrowed, his pulse visible in his neck as uncertainty lingered. A part of him wanted to trust her, to step beyond the shadows. "Okay. But only if you come with me, and only if you promise not to make me wear anything stupid." They cracked small smiles, the moment feeling lighter, like a fragile bridge forged anew. But lurking still in the background was the undercurrent of their struggles. The changes they craved wouldn't come easily. That evening, as they drove towards the community hall, Sarah felt a mix of hope and trepidation churning in her stomach. The streetlights flickered past, illuminating the path ahead but casting long shadows that danced around them. What secrets awaited them within those doors? And would they be enough to bridge the chasm that had opened between them? The thought gnawed at her as they parked, the weight of uncertainty pressing down. The warmth of the building loomed ahead, yet she felt the chill of what they might discover inside. As they stepped out of the car, the familiar hum of conversations filled the air, knotting Sarah's stomach tighter. People milled about, laughter and chatter mingling with the smell of popcorn and coffee wafting from the hall. Jamie hesitated, looking back at her as if seeking reassurance. Sarah offered a gentle nod, reminding him that he wasn't alone. Together, they approached the entrance, the visible energy of the gathering pulling them in. The moment they entered, a spacious room opened up, plastered with vibrant banners and colorful flyers. Some chairs were occupied by animated small groups, their animated hands gesturing like the very wind. At the front, a woman with bright pink glasses and a big smile beckoned them closer. "Welcome. We're so glad you're here." She beamed, her enthusiasm in stark contrast to their silent apprehension. "Mom, I'm not sure about this," Jamie murmured, glancing around like a deer caught in headlights. She could see the tension tightening in his frame, his fingers fidgeting with the hem of his shirt. "I know, but let us just stay for a bit, okay?" She whispered back, attempting to infuse confidence into her own unease. Taking a deep breath, they moved toward an open area where a few chairs circled around a large poster proclaiming "Your journey begins here." Sarah felt the urge to roll her eyes, but the energy of the gathering washed over her. Within moments, the woman in pink glasses started speaking, her voice warm and inviting. "Tonight, we're all here to try and uncover the hidden strengths we have within us. This isn't about being like anyone else, it's about embracing who we are." It struck something deep within Sarah. Her heart quickened. Was it excitement or fear? She stole a glance at Jamie, who mirrored her own uncertainty, but there was a glimmer of intrigue flickering in his eyes. As the night progressed, they shared stories, lessons of vulnerability, and unexpected laughter. The topics varied, from personal tales that tugged at heartstrings to snippets of humor that invoked lightness. Jamie began to soften, engaging with another young person who shared his interests. Sarah watched, her chest swelling with hope, the tightness easing just a fraction. Looking around, she saw the communal warmth, a place where self-exploration was celebrated rather than scorned. But just as she began to relax, the presenter introduced a bold exercise intended to bring deeper connection. "Let us split into smaller groups and share our wounds, the things that hold us back. In this room, vulnerability is not a weakness." Jamie's face turned pale. The air felt thick, and Sarah felt time suspend around her. She glanced sideways at him, bracing for his recoil. "I'm not sure I can," he stammered, the confidence he had shown earlier evaporating. "What if?" "What if what?" Sarah pressed gently, sensing the storm brewing behind his eyes. "What if everyone thinks I'm just broken?" Her heart sank. Broken. The word echoing painfully, resonating with fears they both harbored. Taking a step closer, she whispered, "Every scar tells a story, Jamie. You're not broken, you're learning to become strong. No one here will judge you." Biting his lip, his gaze dropped, contemplating. For a flicker of a moment, their fears hung in the air, heavy as lead. Would he take that step into the unknown? Finally, the silence broke as he sighed deeply, his voice barely above a whisper. "Okay, I'll try." She felt a wave of gratitude rush through her, mixed with her own trepidation. They exchanged a glance, the flicker of hope igniting between them again. As they moved toward their small group, the chatter swirled into a backdrop of nervous anticipation. What stories would come to light? Would sharing their truth deepen their bond or fracture it more? In the swirl of emotions, uncertainty still loomed large. Would they leave this gathering more whole, or would they stumble further into the darkness? With every word they were about to express, truths lay bare, waiting to be revealed. As they settled into their small group, the chairs creaked slightly, and Sarah caught the eyes of other participants' young faces filled with a mixture of fear and determination. Jamie fidgeted beside her, his fingers now twisting a strand of his hair nervously. The atmosphere shifted from the earlier excitement to a thicker tension, each breath seeming to carry the weight of unspoken fears. "Okay, let us start with a simple question," the facilitator said, her voice gently guiding them. "What's a struggle you've faced recently, and what did it teach you?" At the mention of struggles, Sarah felt her heart race again. Jamie sat rigid beside her, his fingers still dancing in his hair. She could feel his inner battle, the urge to hide against the backdrop of vulnerability was palpable. Before anyone else could respond, a young girl across from them spoke up. "I used to think nobody wanted to be my friend. It felt like I was invisible, and it hurt a lot." She shared how that pain had pushed her to reach out for help, leading to unexpected friendships that changed her life. Her voice held a warmth that seemed to wrap around them like a soft blanket. Hearing her, Jamie's gaze flickered toward Sarah, questioning whether he could express something similar. But silence engulfed him again, smothering any words he might have wanted to say. Gingerly, Sarah placed her hand on his arm, grounding him with her touch. "You can do this, Jamie," she encouraged softly, not wanting to stifle his chance to share. After a subtle moment of gathering courage, Jamie took a deep breath. I felt that way too. Like I didn't belong anywhere." His voice came out quieter than he intended, as if he were testing it for the first time. "I keep thinking I'm not good enough, and I worry people will find that out." A few heads nodded in understanding, a collective empathy filling the room. Sarah felt her heart swell as Jamie revealed a piece of himself. It was a crucial leap forward, a beam of light breaking through the weight of his uncertainty. He was not alone. Tears swelled in her eyes as she remembered the nights filled with silence when she wished Jamie would talk about his feelings. The struggle had been so heavy, but here they were, taking this step together. Jamie met her gaze, and in that moment, she could see his walls beginning to crumble. "I think I'm learning that being vulnerable takes strength," he added, finding his voice slightly stronger this time. "Maybe it's okay to not be perfect. Maybe we're all just works in progress." A ripple of acceptance passed among the group. Sarah watched as others began to share their own fears and feelings, stories woven with raw honesty. Shared laughter broke through the heaviness, each story pulling them closer together. There was power in this circle of connection. Each revelation opened doors they never knew existed, but with this shared honesty came a shadow: the fear of being too exposed. As they transitioned to the next stage of the discussion, the facilitator encouraged everyone to share a lesson they learned from their experiences. Baker, a soft-spoken boy whose shyness had been palpable, finally spoke up, surprising everyone, even himself. "I realized that we're all a bit broken and that's okay," he shared, his words trembling slightly but gaining strength. "It just means we're human." Quiet murmurs of agreement followed his proclamation, lifting the tension. The air felt lighter, rippling with the glow of catharsis. Sarah could feel a shift in Jamie, that flicker of hope igniting into something more. As the gathering pressed on, they began to devise a plan. What could they do to support each other beyond this room? The challenges they faced could be overcome together if only they decided to stay connected after this night. But just then, Jamie broke from the group's discussion, eyes wide with realization. "Wait," he blurted, startling everyone, "what if some of these people become part of our lives? What if they really get to see us?" A hush fell over the group, reflective gazes exchanged, igniting a spark of anticipation. There was excitement in the uncertainty, but with it came the challenge. Would they dare to cultivate bonds in a world that often felt isolating? Each glance around the circle carried unspoken hopes and fears. As Jamie's words hung in the air, the question echoed louder in Sarah's mind: could they truly open up to this new journey, or would they retreat back into their comfortable shells? With it all on the table, the next steps lay ahead of them. But would courage guide them through the unknown? The silence was thick, hanging like a cloud over the room. Sarah could see the wheels turning in everyone's minds. Jamie's question had unsettled something deep within them. Some fidgeted in their chairs, while others furrowed their brows, contemplating the weight of vulnerability they were being asked to embrace. The facilitator broke the stillness with a gentle smile. "That's a great point, Jamie. Building connections takes courage, but it's also an opportunity for growth. Let us explore what this could look like." As she spoke, the group leaned in, their faces a mix of fear and eagerness. They needed an anchor in this unpredictable sea of feelings. Sarah's heart soared a little. It felt like they were right on the cusp of something transformative. "What if we create a group chat?" A voice from the back piped up, a boy named Daniel, who often stayed quiet. "We can share thoughts, memes, whatever, just keep in touch." Nods of agreement followed. A ripple of energy swirled around the room. Small smiles replaced the earlier tension. It was a small idea, but it felt significant. For Sarah and Jamie, it was more than just a chat group, it was a bridge to connection. Jamie glanced at Sarah, a mix of excitement and apprehension in his eyes. "Do you think we could really do that? Stay connected?" Sarah squeezed his hand, a gesture that spoke volumes. We can definitely try, she said, and her voice held a conviction that made Jamie's shoulders relax a bit. Encouraged by her response, a shy girl named Mia chimed in, we could also set up meetups like fun activities. It doesn't have to be serious all the time. Her enthusiasm was contagious, lighting a spark of excitement among the group. Ideas began to flow like a stream breaking free from ice, the potential for bowling nights, movie marathons, and even hiking adventures. Each new suggestion felt like another layer of armor shedding. The fear of judgment began to fade as laughter intertwined with their plans, but in the midst of this rising spirit, Sarah noticed a flicker of worry in Jamie's eyes. That's all great, he interjected hesitantly, but what if we mess up? What if I ruin it for everyone? The room fell quiet again, and all eyes turned to him. It was a brave admission, a crack in the wall he had built around himself. Sarah held her breath, hoping someone would respond. I have felt that way too, Baker said softly. But what if we all mess up together? Wouldn't it be okay to have each other's backs when it happens? A warmth spread through the gathering, shadows of their insecurities lifted by the light of communal understanding. Yes, they were all works in progress, and that was precisely what made this journey worthwhile. With this newfound trust brewing, the discussion deepened, each person sharing their hopes and fears. They began crafting not just a plan for activities, but plans for being there when things got tough. It felt exhilarating, the kind of alive feeling that pulsed through them in waves. Just as they were savoring a moment of unity, Jamie's expression shifted again. He placed a hand over his heart, searching for courage from somewhere deep within. Can I share something scary? The group leaned in closer, anticipation mingling with uncertainty. Sure, you can say anything, Sarah encouraged, her heart pounding not just for herself, but for him too. I think I've spent so long afraid of who I am that I'm terrified people won't accept every part of me, he began, his voice trembling just a little. What if the real me isn't enough? The room quieted again, the impact of his words wrapping around them like a heavy blanket. Do you think we're gonna leave you if you don't? Not on our watch. We're in this together. Mia's voice broke through with a fierce energy, and the group erupted in murmurs of agreement. But even as screams of support rang out, Sarah felt the severity of Jamie's unspoken fears hovering just above the surface. Would they really embrace each other's complexities, even when the truth got messy? As Jamie searched their faces for reassurance, a tension hung in the air, a promise that they were still on the precipice. They had stepped onto the path toward courage, but would they be able to walk it together? With these thoughts swirling, one thing became clear. All of this was just the beginning, and the road ahead was filled with uncertainty. Would they dive deeper into their vulnerabilities, or would they let the fear pull them back? Jamie took a deep breath, his chest rising and falling as he tried to steady himself. The warmth of support around him radiated, yet the fear of rejection lingered like a shadow. He glanced at Sarah, who offered him a nod filled with certainty and encouragement. Her faith in him felt like a lifeline, yet doubt still churned in his mind. Okay, Jamie pushed out, his voice steadier now, a flicker of resolve igniting within him. If we're all being real, I'll start. Sometimes, I feel so lost in my own head, like I wear this mask, pretending to be okay when inside, it's chaos. I worry that if I show that part of me, everyone will just leave. The silence felt different this time. It wasn't one of fear but of shared understanding. Mia leaned in. You're not alone in that, she said softly, her eyes shining with empathy. I think a lot of us spend time pretending everything's fine when it really isn't. Baker nodded vigorously. Yeah. Like, we could be out there, laughing, but there's a whole world happening underneath. Isn't it wild how we can all be in the same room and still feel so isolated? As each person took a turn, stories unfolded like flowers blooming in spring. Daniel spoke about his struggles with anxiety, and the room listened intently, each confession met with nods and murmurs of solidarity. Sarah felt a smile creeping onto her face. This was transformation, raw, unfiltered, and beautiful. Every story shared was a thread weaving them all together. It became clear that this was not just about activities, it was about forging a community where they could show up as their true selves. "I've been working on embracing who I am," Jamie said finally, feeling a surge of courage he didn't know he possessed. "But it's hard. I guess I worry that I'll mess up like I always do. Maybe I'll say something stupid, and everyone will think I'm a joke." "Hey, we all mess up." Daniel chimed in, a grin plastered on his face. "Look at me. I made plans for bowling yesterday, and I forgot the date." Laughter erupted, and with it, the tension began to dissolve. Sarah leaned closer to Jamie, her heart swelling for him. "It's okay to mess up. It's part of being human. We're all going through this together, right?" Jamie smiled back, the corners of his mouth lifting just a little more. Yeah, together they spent the rest of the time brainstorming ideas for their group chat and fun activities. There was a discussion about a weekend movie marathon, where everyone could share their favorite films while lounging on blankets. Games would be played, laughter shared, and snacks devoured. As they made plans, anxiety slipped away, replaced by an infectious energy. They didn't need to be perfect. They just had to be real. But in the back of his mind, Jamie still wrestled with a nagging thought. What if his vulnerabilities turned out to be too much? The fear was still there, like an unwelcome visitor. As they wrapped up the session, everyone was buzzing with excitement. Sarah could see the relief on Jamie's face, but she also noticed the flicker of worry still glowing in his eyes. "Can I count on you guys?" Jamie asked, his voice dropping a bit. "Can we actually make this work? Because I really want to be part of this." "Absolutely," Mia declared passionately. "Count me in. We're with you, Jamie." The room erupted in full support, voices tumbling over each other with affirmations. But as Sarah watched Jamie soak in the encouragement, she sensed that the road ahead wouldn't just be filled with laughter and joy. They might stumble, they might hurt, and they might even fall. But wasn't that the beauty of it all? The thought lingered, unanswered, what would happen when they faced their first real challenge together? Would they hold on tight, or would they let the first hints of struggle send them scattering once again? The next meeting rolled around quicker than Jamie expected. The bold plans for the weekend movie marathon had sparked a sense of joy in him, but the weight of uncertainty still lingered. As he walked into the familiar room, he took a moment to gather himself. The faces of his friends brightened at his arrival, and their positivity washed over him like warm sunlight. "Hey, Jamie," Baker called out, waving enthusiastically. "We were just talking about your favorite movie. You better be ready to defend it." The laughter set him at ease. He took a seat, scanning the room. Daniel fiddled with his phone, while Mia animatedly described what snacks they should bring. And Sarah, she was glowing, a beacon of encouragement that never seemed to fade. Their excitement was infectious, yet as they bounced ideas back and forth, Jamie's mind still wandered. What if something went wrong? What if, amid the laughter and games, he revealed too much about his struggles? "All right, team," Sarah proclaimed, clapping her hands. "Let us finalize the details. What's our lineup for Saturday?" Everyone chimed in, tossing around suggestions like popcorn. From classic comedies to heartwarming dramas, the list grew longer and longer. But Jamie felt a pang of fear rising. What if they hated his choice? What if they laughed at him when he shared his favorite film, a deeply personal story about resilience? I think I want to suggest something," Jamie ventured, his voice quieter than he'd hoped. All eyes turned to him. He shifted in his chair, feeling their anticipation. "Go for it," Mia encouraged. "It's this movie called A Beautiful Mind. I know it's a bit intense, but it really spoke to me," he said, feeling his cheeks heat up. "It's about someone battling inner demons and still managing to find connection and hope." The room held its breath, and for a moment, silence reigned. Had he gone too far? But then Daniel broke the stillness. I love that movie. It's such a powerful story. I'm in. Yeah, let us do it. Baker agreed, nodding. The relief washing over Jamie felt like a wave pulling him back to shore. Awesome choice, Sarah added, her voice bright and warm. It'll lead to some great discussions. As they finalized their plans, Jamie felt a flicker of something new possibility. Maybe sharing his truth wouldn't push them away after all. Maybe vulnerability could become a bridge, not a barrier, but just as the conversation turned to logistics, Mia leaned forward. I think we should set a time to just hang out, you know? Not just movies, but talk too. I think we need that kind of space sometimes. Really good idea, Jamie said, feeling a subtle shift in the air. What had started as a casual suggestion seemed to open up doors. Authentic connection sometimes required more than shared laughter, it needed raw conversations too. Let us make it a regular thing, Sarah proposed, her eyes sparkling. A safe space for whatever's on our minds. No judgments. Just us. The enthusiasm was palpable, and for a brief moment, fears dissipated like morning mist. Plans were made, and smiles flourished. But as they packed up to leave, Jamie felt an unexpected shudder of apprehension. Hey, everyone. I've got something on my mind. I mean, about how I feel like I don't belong sometimes. Like, what if I mess it up? He paused, heart racing. What then? The room quieted, and he could almost hear the gears turning in their minds. Mia was the first to respond, her sincerity cutting through the thick tension. We've all felt that way, Jamie. You're not alone in this. Even if things get tough. But does it ever feel too much? He pressed, vulnerability creeping back into his voice. Baker leaned forward too, his expression serious. Honestly? Yeah. But if we're a group, we figure it out together. We support each other. Always. What if we faced something really hard, Jamie? Sarah's soft voice pierced through his spiraling thoughts. What do you think would happen? He took a deep breath, the echoes of what might be lying before him. Could they really hold it together when the darkness arrives? That single question lingered, waiting for answers. Would they rise to the occasion, or would fear scatter them once again? The following Saturday dawned bright and clear, a perfect day for what Jamie hoped would be a breakthrough moment with his friends. As he stood in front of his closet, he sorted through his clothes, trying to choose something comfortable yet vibrant. The excitement in the air hung heavy, wrapping around him like a hug. Still, the underlying anxiety shadowed him. Would he manage to vocalize his feelings amidst the laughter? Arriving at Baker's house, the familiar hug of friendship washed over him, as Baker swung open the door with his ever-cheerful welcome. Jamie. Ready for some serious movie magic? Definitely, Jamie replied, forcing a smile as he followed Baker inside. The scent of buttery popcorn filled the air, a sweet reminder that he was among friends. Mia was already there, arranging the snacks with a sprinkle of chaos. I went a little overboard. Nachos, candy, and I think I heard something about pizza as well, she said with a laugh, tossing her hair back playfully. Jamie couldn't help but smile at her energy. Sounds amazing, he agreed, feeling his nerves ease just slightly. As they settled in, Sarah appeared, arms laden with a few cozy blankets. Perfect for a movie marathon. And don't forget, this is also about talking, right? Her grin held a mischievous spark. Right. Just like we planned, Jamie said, then felt a twinge of uncertainty. Would his moment come, or would the warmth of the fun drown out his hopes? The group arranged themselves on the couch, snacks waiting within arm's reach. The chatter flowed effortlessly, with every voice contributing to a tapestry of friendship that filled the room. But as the first movie began, Jamie felt the familiar tightness in his chest. The screen illuminated their faces, and laughter erupted at the jokes, yet he stayed quiet. When the credits rolled, the room buzzed with excitement. They discussed favorite scenes and quotes, but Jamie felt like an outsider looking in. The fear crept back in, unseen yet palpable. "All right, time for a beautiful mind," Jamie finally announced, his voice trembling slightly as he spoke. Mia looked over at him, an encouraging smile on her face, but even her warmth couldn't chase away the shadows clouding his thoughts. The film started, and it gripped everyone. They watched together, laughter and tears flowing through the narrative of struggle and triumph. Jamie found himself moved deeper than expected. The protagonist's battles resonated painfully with him. It was a stunning reminder of his own uncertainty, his own demons. As the end credits rolled, a heavy silence filled the room. Jamie's heart raced as he sensed the shift. "That was intense," he said, breaking the stillness. Daniel nodded, summoning the courage to speak. "It hit hard. But it's real. It makes you think about how we deal with our own issues." "Yeah, and about how important it is to talk about them too," Mia added, glancing towards Jamie with concern. "Don't you think, Jamie?" The spotlight was on him, and Jamie could feel the warmth of the moment, yet the weight of unspoken words hung heavily in the air. His heart pounded in his chest, an urgent rhythm pushing him to share, to bear his thoughts. I do feel like I struggle sometimes," he admitted, the words spilling out almost unintentionally. "Like, I don't always feel like I belong, or that I might mess it all up." The expressions on his friends' faces shifted. Baker leaned forward, sincerity in his eyes. "You're not alone in that, man. We all have moments like these. Just look at the movie, it's about pushing through, isn't it? Right. And that's why we have each other, to talk about it and face it all together," Sarah added, her voice touched with firmness. Jamie took a breath, the moment feeling more fluid now. "What if things get really hard for me, though? Like what if I can't handle it?" Mia reached out, her voice soft but unwavering. "Then we'll handle it together. That's what friends are for." The air began to shift, a collective understanding blossoming. Jamie felt his heart thaw as hope stirred within him. Maybe facing it all together wouldn't be so daunting after all. But just as the heavy emotion started to settle, a sudden knock echoed at the door, interrupting their moment. The impact was unexpected, and all heads turned. Who could it be? Curiosity swirled in the room like the popcorn scent that filled the air. Jamie's stomach knotted again, unsure whether this new visitor would bring happiness or another weight to carry. Could this unexpected interruption shake everything he was building with his friends? The questions loomed, leaving Jamie hanging on the edge of a new uncertainty. Everyone turned toward the door, the knock almost echoing in the charged atmosphere. Jamie's heart raced, the moment heavy with expectation. The knock came again, this time more insistent, almost impatient. Baker exchanged glances with the others before saying, "Should I get it?" He stood up, brushing off the kernel bit stuck to his jeans. Jamie felt a mix of curiosity and dread swirl inside him. Who could be interrupting their heartfelt moment? As the door swung open, the air was punctuated by the sound of laughter. A tall figure with a familiar silhouette stepped inside, their old classmate, Alex. He grinned widely, a mischievous spark in his eyes that Jamie remembered all too well. "Whoa! Movie night and didn't he invite me?" Alex teased, as if he owned the place. "I brought pizza." He held up a box, the familiar greasy aroma wafting through the room. Mia's eyes lit up. "You're a lifesaver, Alex. There's always room for pizza." Jamie's emotions were a storm. Part of him was thrilled to see Alex, the guy always knew how to make the party fun. But another part felt like this was the exact disruption he didn't need. Would the light-hearted chaos take over now? "Guess you guys were just talking about serious stuff?" Alex asked, his tone shifting, picking up on the vibe in the room. He set the pizza down, glancing at Jamie. "Hey, man. You alright?" Jamie nodded, even though his mind swirled with uncertainty. Yeah, just watching a very emotional movie. Ah, those always hit hard, Alex said, shrugging. But let's change the mood. Who's ready for some movie trivia to lighten things up? Baker chuckled and clapped his hands together. Sounds like a plan. We can do this after the pizza. Right, Jamie? The attention returned to him like a spotlight. While his friend's excitement wrestled for dominance in the space, Jamie felt the laughter and lightheartedness almost pushing back his worries. Yet that little voice in the back of his head whispered about the conversation they had started, urging him to continue opening up. Right. Movie trivia sounds fun, Jamie said, injecting some enthusiasm into his voice. Still, the battle in his chest raged on. Was he really ready to tackle his fears in front of everyone? With time for the pizza to settle in, the group sprawled out on the couch again. They feasted on cheesy, gooey slices, bantering and throwing out guesses about trivia questions that Alex rattled off with flair. Laughter spilled into the room like confetti, filling the space with warmth, but beneath it all, Jamie felt the tension of that earlier moment linger. It had been a breakthrough of sorts. The kind that hinted at deeper conversations yet to be had. His pulse quickened when he remembered how Mia had looked at him with that glimmer of concern, her understanding almost palpable. Would she notice if he slipped into silence while everyone was laughing? Or would they all move on, swept up in the noise of old jokes and trivia triumphs? As the laughter crescendoed, Jamie caught Baker's eye. There was a moment of silent communication, a nod that felt like it said, "We're here for you," in a world filled with noise. But just when Jamie thought he could let go and relax, the door swung open again. This time, it wasn't just Alex, it was someone else. "Hey, what's up? Mind if I join the party?" A voice called out, filled with casual confidence. Jamie's head swiveled, and with it came a rush of fresh uncertainty. Who would be arriving next? Would this new presence change everything again? The questions echoed in his mind as Jamie prepared himself for yet another obstacle or perhaps, an opportunity. The laughter in the room faded as they all turned toward the newcomer. It was Max, the charming, popular kid from school. Jamie's heart sank. Max had a knack for stealing any spotlight, and Jamie braced himself for that familiar wave of insecurity. Max casually strolled in, settling his gaze on the group without hesitation. "Didn't he know we had a gathering? What's the movie lineup?" he asked, a sly smile creeping onto his face. Baker chimed in enthusiastically, sharing the plan for the night. "We just finished A Beautiful Mind, and now we're diving into some trivia." The mood shifted again as people jokingly bristled with excitement. Jamie felt like he was sinking. For a moment, the room felt like a party he wasn't quite invited to, and all the fears he thought he had pushed aside rushed back. He exchanged quick glances with Sarah, who was more focused on Max than on him. Max seemed unbothered by what had just transpired. "Nice. Hope you all saved some pizza for me." The familiar pang of anxiety hit Jamie, a heavy lump in his throat. What if he couldn't find the courage to voice his feelings? What if he got overshadowed again? But then, something shifted. Jamie remembered how far he had come from the quiet moments shared in the gatherings just a week ago. There had been vulnerability, laughter, a real connection. He wanted to keep that going. "Hey, Max!" Jamie called out, surprising himself with the steadiness of his voice. The room paused, curiosity drifting from his peers back to the center of attention. "Yeah?" Max turned, intrigued. "I think we were just talking about what a movie like A Beautiful Mind taught us about facing struggles. So, it might be interesting to hear your thoughts on it." The words slipped out before he could second-guess himself. Max blinked, caught off guard. Jamie could feel the tension shift. The group was silent, hanging on the moment, and something blossomed within him. The feeling was new, a mix of fear and defiance. Sure, Max trailed off, suddenly not so confident. It was intense. "I guess everyone has their battles." Jamie nodded, sensing an opening. Exactly. So, what has been your battle? His question lingered, hanging in the air like a challenge. Max hesitated, the glint of surprise on his face shifted to something deeper, perhaps appreciating the honesty. I didn't realize you cared about this stuff, Jamie, Max finally replied, his usual bravado stripped away momentarily. I struggle with people not getting how anxious I can get before a big game or something. Gasps of recognition filled the room. Baker leaned in closer. Yeah, but look at how you always bring it in the spotlight. That takes guts. Jamie's heart soared. Their vulnerability was setting a new tone. You think you know me because I seem all together in front of everyone, Max said, vulnerability flickering in his eyes. But sometimes, I feel misunderstood. Just like you guys. That confession exploded through the room like confetti. Jamie realized Max was just another kid nobody was immune to fear, loneliness, and struggles. Suddenly, laughter erupted again. And who knows? Maybe we'll all take a cue from tonight's movie and admit we don't have to win to be valued, Mia said with a grin, breaking the tension further. Everyone chuckled, but Jamie felt the walls around them start to dissolve. As they moved forward in the night, Jamie felt something monumental shift within him. Maybe this was the moment they'd all been waiting for, a real fear-bearing conversation, open and honest between friends, beginning with him stepping up. As the night wrapped, Jamie felt connected to all of them in a way he hadn't anticipated. They voiced hopes and fears freely, creating a tapestry of emotions, laughter woven alongside heavy truths. Hey, let us keep this up, Jamie said as everyone prepared to leave, an urgency in his voice. Why don't we meet once a week, no judgment. Just us, being real. The room erupted in affirmative nods. It was a shared promise, a pact that felt binding yet freeing all at once. As they drifted out into the cool night air, Jamie felt lighter. Each step came with renewed confidence. Max stayed back, walking alongside him. Thanks for calling me out, he said, a sincere smile on his face. It's rare, you know. Seeing someone like you speak your truth. A weight lifted off Jamie's shoulders. We're all just trying to figure it out, right? Together, I think we can. Max nodded in agreement, and as they walked side by side, Jamie realized that it wasn't just the film that had unveiled their truths, but the recognition that nobody really finds their way alone. The lights of the town twinkled around them, a bright reminder that beyond their struggles lay a community ready to embrace the rawness of life, ready to support each other. This feels like a new beginning, Jamie thought, a smile tugging at his lips. With each new day, he knew they would grow stronger together. And this time, he was ready for the journey ahead. Now it's your turn. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. Let your voice be heard. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this beautiful transformation. This is the moment to show your support, and you need to subscribe. Don't wait not even one more second to share.